In 1960, about then, prior to 1960, we started wearing rubber sole shoes especially for work and so on. And then they came along kids' shoes. They were a popular uh, kind of maybe a tennis shoe. And then all of a sudden in 1960, when we invented the polymers, then we could mass produce um, plastics.
Mm.
But prior to that time, the only thing that really ever insulated us, I mean, if we wore a leather sole shoe, we were naturally grounded because the perspiration from your foot hydrates the sock, hydrates the leather, and it holds the body salts. And so a shoe
Right.
is a semi-conductive.
Right.
And so we were always kind of naturally grounded. And then we started putting the rubber on, and that began to insulate. It's like an electrical jacket on a wire. It's
Yep.
not going to get shocked because the wire is going to protect you. So then we started, but when we invented the synthetic plastics, 1960 about, the first thing we did with those is we put them on the soles of shoes. Because before then, rubber was relatively expensive, leather was expensive, and so on. And most people were barefoot in the world.
Mm.
And but now with these synthetic plastics, they can make shoes for everybody, and they were inexpensive, and it didn't matter if they got wet.
Yeah.
And so it was a great achievement, a great advancement. Now everybody can afford shoes.
Mm.
Everybody can wear shoes,
Yeah.
and so on. So in 1960, also about that time, 90% of the visits. This is I need to document this a little bit more, but 90% of the visits to a general practitioner were infectious disease, acute injury, and childbirth, and then a few others,
Mm.
But today, 90% of all visits to a practitioner are for an inflammation-related health disorder.
Mm.
Now, if you think in the last 60 years, this is only 60 years that we invented all these plastics, but in the last 60 years, the medical community, the institutions,
Mm-hmm.
medical in the United States is like 30% of the gross national product.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm.
Um, but anyhow, so our whole economy depends on the medical system,
Mm.
and it really does.
And
Because
inflammation.
if everybody got well, then all the docs would be out of work, and
Yeah.
we'd be, yeah. So
That's
there
right.
are issues, with all this. And I'm not putting anybody down. I won't. That's not what this is about.
Sure.
But so anyhow, we had a dramatic shift that occurred in 1960, and a lot of people said, well, it's EMF, or it's this, or it's that, or it's whatever, or it's we developed polio shot, we developed all those things, and the penicillins, and all of these things came along, but yet everybody's getting sicker and sicker and sicker. People are living longer, but the quality of life has diminished significantly. And so anyhow, so what happened? Um, and again, this is cowboy logic. Going back to the cows, health is the body's most natural state.
Mm-hmm.
You have to screw up the body. You have to interfere with the body's immune system or its ability to maintain health. Otherwise, the body only knows to do one thing: restore health and maintain health. So something changed. I knew nothing about any of this, but it is interesting. This is only 60 some years ago that this happened.
Yeah.
And then came along Phil Knight and made shoes, Nikes and all those. And so the world really changed rapidly. And today, people live in shoes. They wear shoes from the time they get up to the time they go to bed. So what happened, and this is kind of what, I'm getting lost here a little bit, but along the way, I didn't know that in the beginning when I was doing these studies. I just had to go backward and paste this together. What was the cause of all this inflammation? Because everybody wanted to know, if you're reducing pain, you have to be reducing inflammation. And we didn't know that until 204, because the word inflammation wasn't common in the literature or in the language before 204.
Gosh.
And so anyhow, Stephen Sinatra, who was a cardiologist, was the one that informed me. He says, Clint, he said, if you're affecting pain, you need to be researching inflammation. And I said, what's inflammation? It means you break an ankle and it swells up. And he said, well, that's kind of it. But he said, there's a different kind. He said, you need to be researching inflammation. He said, you can't have pain unless you have inflammation. If you have pain, then your body's on fire.
Yeah.
Pain is a message. Get me out of here. Do something different because I'm on fire.
Right.
But the body. So anyhow, that he was the first one to. It was 204. I'd been doing research for 6 years prior to that,
Wow.
and but then once I recognized, or once he told me that, then I started doing some research, and I found out that the white blood cells, the immune system, white blood cells, primarily neutrophil. If you have a pathogen in your body and a neutrophil somehow is going to be attracted to that pathogen, probably a radio signal of some kind or a cellular signal of some kind, and it's recognizing that pathogen and it's swimming over there, it's going to find it, and it gets up close to it and it wraps itself, it's kind of a jelly cell, it kind of wraps itself around the pathogen, and then it releases what we call reactive oxygen species. The word reactive means it's electrical, meaning it maintains an extremely large charge, thousands and thousands, way above static electricity, thousands of volts. So a radical,
Wow.
the word radical means it can steal an electron. Not many things can steal an electron.
Right.
Ionization,
Yes.
So, so anyhow, here's this little molecule in the body that the neutrophil is releasing. So it's going over and it's ripping electrons away from the pathogen, and that's how the immune system destroys pathogen.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So the immune system's up to me. I'm an electrical guy. Well, how come people don't know the immune system's electrical? They didn't at the time. I'm sure they did. Some people do, the scientists do, and so on. But the general practitioners and population, no. So, but the body, so to me, the body's electrical first, chemical second. Every cell in the body operates, functions electrical. That means cells repolarize and depolarize and take food in, take things out, but those are all electrical phenomena. So everything in the body is electrical first. Everything that makes up life is energy first. Anyway, we are pure energy.
Of course.
And so so anyhow, then so why? So still we had the issue of inflammation. Why was what was causing the oxidation of these cells? So then it's when I realized that if I ground somebody to the earth, it's like pouring water on a fire. It's oxidation. Fire is oxidation. Inflammation is oxidation. So I said electrons are, when I pour electrons into the body via a electrode patch or just having them lay on a grounding mat, then those electrons are being absorbed by the body, equalizing with the earth. And once it reaches earth potential, you can't have inflammation in a grounded body, a grounded plant, a grounded cow, or anything else, a grounded computer. That's what grounding is all about, is to prevent charge.
Yes.